Who won the console war between PS5 and Xbox? The answer is not so simple. Yes, PlayStation is winning console sales, but the race is far from over. And we're going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, we'll get started with the PS5 numbers, right? PS5 has sold about 75 million units. Xbox Series console have sold about 29 million units, and that's a difference of 46 million units. So PS5 is ahead of Xbox by about 46 million units. Now, a lot of people are out there on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, claiming that oh, it's over for Xbox. It's the end. There's no more Xbox consoles coming out. All of that is untrue. And when you look at history, there's nothing very surprising about what's happening right now. So let's look at history. Now, for purposes of this discussion, we're going to take Nintendo out of the equation. That's because for the last few generations, Nintendo doesn't compete when it comes to like the power of the GPU. Nintendo doesn't compete with the PlayStation or the Xbox. They do their own thing. So I don't think they're really a direct competitor to these consoles. But um, with that in mind, we'll look at the numbers for the original Xbox. The original Xbox sold 24 million units. The PS2 sold 160 million units. That's a difference of 136 million units. So the PS2 beat Xbox by 160 million units during that generation. Next was the golden era for Xbox, the Xbox 360. Uh, the Xbox 360 sold 86 million units. PS3 sold 87.4 million units. So the PlayStation 3 outsold the 360 by 1.4 million units. That was a very close race. And for many years, Microsoft was ahead. And then PlayStation came at the end and they did what they do. And they had a win. And but we'll get into more details about why these generations were so different. Now, Xbox One sold about 58 million units. PS4 sold 117 million units. That's a difference of 59 million units. And then, like I mentioned, the current numbers, Xbox Series X is 29 million units and PS5 is 75 million units. And the difference is 46 million units. So when you look at it, PlayStation has always won in console sales. They have always won the generation ever since the Xbox been around. And before that, because they beat the Nintendo 64 with the original PlayStation 1. Now, when you look at these numbers, the race is not over yet. Xbox still has the possibility. There's some things they can do to improve their numbers. It's very unlikely that in this generation they're gonna beat Sony in console sales, but they can definitely continue to improve their numbers. Just because the numbers seem low right now doesn't mean that they're not gonna sell more consoles. There's a lot of things they can do to promote the Xbox and get more consoles out there. So that brings us to our next topic. Uh, Consoles have always uh, sold the most. PlayStation have always sold the most consoles. Series X or Xbox uh, has always been number two. Is when you look at these numbers. So it's very likely that the PS5 is probably going to end at 100, and let's say 100. PS5 is probably going to sell about 120 million units. That's my bet that the PS5 is going to sell 120 million units. Uh, Xbox Xbox probably could be below 50 million units. Xbox would be closer to sometime somewhere in the 40s. I think the Xbox is still probably in the next 3 years. They might be able to sell, several million units. 16, 17 million units is what Xbox needs to sell to be in the 40s. Okay, so how how can we improve things, right? There's several things that Xbox could do to improve uh, what's their sales numbers. Number one is that the Xbox Series console could benefit from a price drop. That's something we haven't seen this generation. Is a price drop. Back when I was growing up, all of the previous generations, including the last generation before this one, had price drops about 3 to 4 years into the generation. Now we're in the fifth year of this generation, and we're still paying full price, the same full price that we pay on day one. We're still paying for that price today for these consoles, right? And why there hasn't been a price drop, I don't know. Is it really that expensive to make these consoles? I mean, there's old technology at this point. This technology is 5 years old. Like, is it really that expensive to make? To manufacture? So Xbox can is to improve their sales numbers by having a price drop. Also, getting more titles onto Xbox Play Anywhere. Xbox Play Anywhere is the ability. It's like a license that you get. Let's say you buy the game on the Xbox. Let's say you buy a good example uh, of a Play Anywhere title. I know in my case, I bought, for example, I have a Forza, I think a 4, and I also had the Forza 3 and Mortal Kombat 11. I bought those games and they were Xbox Play Anywhere games. So I was able to take those games and play them on PC and on the console. So you own it on both platforms, PC and console, and without paying the extra price for an additional copy. I think that's a huge benefit. They're talking about bringing in more titles into that program, and I think that they can improve a lot. They can keep a lot of people loyal with this program. After this, next item is continue bringing new releases to Game Pass. They've done a great job with Game Pass. No matter the Game Pass is undisputed. Game Pass is the golden crown in Xbox, in the Xbox, family is Game Pass. Game Pass has the crown, is a crown jewel. Um, they are bringing a lot of games this year. They had a lot of look how well the developer uh, thing went, the developer showcase. So they continue bringing new releases to Game Pass like they're doing right now. Continue doing that. A big one here will be to add all of the Call of Duty titles to Game Pass. I think that if they went ahead and Activision added all of their Call of Duty titles to Game Pass, they would sell more consoles and they will have more users on Game Pass, whether on PC or on console. Call of Duty sells, and if you can have the whole library there for you available with your membership to Game Pass, I'm all in. Um, and then when you look at services like Game Pass Ultimate, there's multiple ways to play, actually, more than three. You can play on the console, you can play on PC, or you can play in the cloud. And when you play in the cloud, you can play on different formats because you can play through a web browser or through an app, right? They could be the Xbox app on your Samsung TV, or it can be you logging into the Xbox Cloud website and you're streaming it on your laptop or mobile device. Uh, that's a huge benefit. But the whole point is not over. When you look at the numbers, this is not the worst that it has been for Xbox. Not at all. They got outsold by a lot during the PS2 era, and I guess you give them a pass there because that was their first attempt at a console. But during the 360, not the 360, but the Xbox One generation and the PS4, yeah, that was a big one because they outsold uh, Xbox by 59 million units for the PS4 generation. It's possible this generation might go exactly the same as last. We'll see. There's a lot of people that still have the Xbox One that haven't upgraded yet, and they might go for an upgrade. And being that they have a lot of digital games like I do, you're going to continue buying the Xbox because you have your collection of games on there. And then you also have these great services like Game Pass. Um, Now, the race is far from over. Stop listening to people on Twitter and X are posting saying it's a wrap, that it's over. It's not over yet. This is far from over. We're probably, when it comes to these sales of these consoles, we're probably about mid-gen right now. So we're going through the middle of this cycle right now. These consoles will still be supported for another 3 to 4 years. Look how long the previous console has been supported. Look at the Xbox One and the PS4. Look how many games they're developing that are cross-gen, right? Like Black Ops 6. That was available on Xbox One and PS4, and it's on the current consoles right now. So a lot of games are cross-gen. A lot of people say that's the reason why we haven't seen a lot of graphical, like, improvements like we were expecting on this generation, because there's not a lot of exclusives for the console, for the generation. Yeah, but there it is. I think the numbers don't lie. This is far from over. PlayStation is winning for sure, but Xbox is not out, not by a long shot, and they have already committed to developing a new console for the next generation. So no worries there. I hope this was useful, but uh, enjoy, hit like and subscribe. Bye bye.